Is Derek Carr ready to lead the Saints offense in 2023 off the bench? Overtime, T-Bob, Jacob Hester. Let's go ahead and watch the video.
Derek Carr. And kind of explore a bit the question of, are you more or less excited for Derek Carr? And how did he look in this first experience that you had with him as the New Orleans Saints quarterback? First look at our new boo, if you will. You had your rookie minicamp, you had your voluntary OT days, you had your mandatory minicamp, and now players report in less than a month, July 24th.
Let me tell you this right now. Derek Carr, you talk about make or break. Derek Carr is in a make or break situation. Everyone for the last 12 months has told him he sucks. Everyone, most importantly, the Las Vegas Raiders, told him that he is not a franchise quarterback. Everyone has told him, most importantly, the Las Vegas Raiders, that he's not even a starting quarterback, right? Everyone in the media, most importantly, the Las Vegas Raider media, said this ain't the guy. He can't get the job done. He can't do it. He can't lead a team to the playoffs. He can't lead a team to the Super Bowl. And the New Orleans Saints picked up the phone and said, we'll give you a chance, Big Daddy. Derek Carr has told everyone he can do it. And now he's getting the chance to do it. So he better be ready to lead the Saints offense. If Derek Carr comes out there and lays a big fat egg, then everyone will know exactly who he is. This is a put up or shut up, back against the wall, grit type situation. As a player, as a quarterback, I suppose this is all you can really ask for. If you're begging for an opportunity and you get the opportunity, you better show up. So no matter what you think about Derek Carr, if you're a Saints fan, you have to just kind of put your hands up and say, okay, Derek, you are driving the boat. You said you can drive the boat. Get us to the destination.
For training camp. And I'll start here. A lot of Saints writers who I really respect and trust and love to read seem to be pretty head over heels for Derek Carr. Word on the street is he feels like the real deal. I would ask a question to you boys. Maybe not you as much, Taylor, but certainly you, Mario. And if you're listening, the only reason I said Taylor's more of a Cowboys fan, so I don't know how closely you follow kind of the Saints ins and outs. But the one question that I have is I kind of like, I love reading all this positive stuff, but I did also read it with Jameis. Maybe not.
None of this matters. Like the OTAs, the training camp, the beat writers, like no offense to the beat writers, but when you have a quarterback, whether it's Jameis or Derek Carr, whoever, when they're rah-rah, they're in their shirts and shorts, they're, throwing passes, everyone's hyped up, it's a new season, it's training camp, everyone looks good, you're taking chances, you're pushing the ball, you're not getting hit, you know that, there's no pressure on you, especially with a quarterback like Derek Carr who isn't in a position battle or anything like that. Everyone's going to look good. Unless you are just bad, like unless you're missing throws, unless you don't have the skills to do it, which isn't going to happen at that level of the NFL, especially when you've been in the league for as long as Derek Carr has been. Of course he's going to look good. Of course Jameis is going to look good. Of course the sound bites from Jameis are going to be fun and they're going to be awesome. Of course Derek Carr is going to sound like a leader, right? That it means nothing to me, honestly. Nothing that has happened in the last month I factor into how I look at Derek Carr. With a rookie quarterback, maybe, because it's all you got. But for someone like Derek Carr, who you're talking about, what's he got, 8 years? Something like that of NFL experience? I think we have plenty to look at. We don't need to use the last 3 weeks of OTAs. We don't need to use training camp, right? What I'm worried about with Derek Carr is when the heat is on him in the pocket in Vegas, in Oakland, it seems like he would crumble. It seems like he would take sacks that he didn't need to take. It seems like he was almost seeing ghosts in the pocket. That's just what I've seen. I have never questioned his leadership ability or his, ability to rally men or make the throws. That's never been questioned. So we'll see what they say, but I don't.
As positive, right? there was always a little bit more like, well, James, it was really good, but James can't. There was always a little bit more hesitance, but it was still overwhelmingly positive. I don't even know if I trust myself after how I felt about the Jameis situation. So, Mara, I guess I would ask you, does it do anything to hear from these, again, very good Saints writers that Derek Carr seems like the real deal?
I think so. I think there's something to be said for being there every day like those guys are. I also respect them. But as far as my opinion goes, I definitely want to see him play in a game. I think he's primed for success. I think he's a big step up from what the Saints have had the last 2 years post Drew Brees. And frankly, I think he has a much better offense around him, man. The acquisitions the Saints made this offseason, Jamal Williams. You'll hopefully get Michael Thomas back healthy, fingers crossed, knocking on wood. More experience for Shaheed. Jawan Johnson continues to develop. People have doubts about Carmichael, which I understand, but I think Derek Carr is primed to have a good season.
Yeah, I agree. He is primed to have a good season. Everything is there for him to have a good season. And everything that he needs is there. There is no excuse. Besides Pete Carmichael and Dennis Allen, which is certainly a real excuse in these parts because they are terrible. But everything else, it's all there for Derek Carr.
And I am getting more and more excited, but not going to get too excited till I actually see him in the black and gold.
Agreed. I'm excited because of everything that's happened. Nothing as far as like roster building, all of that, nothing to do with the last couple of weeks. I do need to see it in the game. I do need to see this offense. I do need to see Derek Carr. I do need to see it on the field with an actual opponent coming after him. I do need to see all that.
Yeah, and you got Taysom Hill. I think my biggest question mark is really the offensive line. What's Trevor Penning's status going to be? Can Ryan Ramczyk getting back to being on the Hall of Fame trajectory that he was on early on, where he's just posting all pros year in and year out?
Huge year for Ruiz.
He's going to look like this year, who I believe they've declined his 5th-year option. So yeah, there's a lot to break down on, there's a lot riding on the development and the cohesiveness of that offensive line, and nothing can doom a team more than having a bad O-line, which I don't know. It could go either way, honestly. The O-line does kind of balance on a knife's edge here.
Yeah, Teron Armstead's just presence has been missed. I know people complained about him missing games, which that's a different conversation, but just his presence on the offensive line I think has really been missed. Ramczyk and McCoy need to step up in that regard.
And I don't remember the numbers, but randomly during last football season, there were a bunch of numbers showing just how Miami's rushing success, especially behind Armstead, had increased and how it had fallen off. Yes, you missed Teron Armstead, certainly. But that's why you drafted Trevor Penning. Now, he caught one of the worst injuries big man could get in a Liz Frank at the worst possible time, so that's a bit shocking.
Offensive line talk kills me. It really does. I know offensive lines are important. I get it. The offensive line is one of those things where this is going to be controversial. I have a feeling this is where a lot of comments are going to come in. I have a sneaky feeling when I'm getting those YouTube notification bubbles popping up. And blank just commented on your video. Lisa Frank 69 just commented. Cheerleader chick 69, whatever. They all commented. When I go and read it, it's going to be about what I'm about to say. The offensive line is one of those things like the salary cap or like contracts or draft picks that people talk about because they think they're supposed to talk about them. It's easy to be like, wow, the offensive line, got to protect the quarterback. We got to run. I don't think there's a huge difference. And here it is. Just get ready. Sit down. Sit down now. I don't think there's a huge difference between the 3rd best offensive line in the NFL and the 14th best offensive line in the NFL. The 3rd best quarterback in the NFL and the 14th best quarterback, huge difference. But if your offensive line, now, before you type, if your offensive line is bad, like if your quarterback is getting hit all the time, if you're in a situation where your quarterback's getting hit 90 times a season, that is where I think that breaking point is like, okay, obviously the offensive line is a problem. But if it's mediocre to good, I think it's about the same. And I think other pieces can mask a bad offensive line. it's hard for me to engage in offensive line talk because I don't think anyone besides an offensive lineman can sit there and tell me, like, okay, Ryan Ramczyk had a bad game. Unless you see the glaring, obvious, like, him letting a rusher through and allowing a sack. But it's just one of those conversations pieces where you're almost forced to just be like, yeah, okay, all right, sure, okay, because it's non-quantifiable. Like right now, don't look it up. Right now, who would you say had the top 5? We're gonna do a little activity. Right now, who would you say had the top 5 best offensive lines in the NFL last year, and who had the 5 worst? Don't look it up, because I think if you don't Google it, you're just guessing. In my opinion, if you do not Google top 10 offensive lines 2022, worst offensive lines 2022, if you don't go to PFF and look at the grades, I think people are going to be guessing. I think they're just going to say, well, who ran the ball well? We'll just pick it. Right now, let's go take a look at DVOA for last year and see who the top 5 and bottom 5 are. All right, so we're looking at run blocking right now. We're looking at the top 5. The Raiders, number 1. Packers, number 2. Chiefs, number 3. Niners, number 4. Atlanta, number 5. Would you have said that? Would you have said Carolina had a top 10 offensive line last year? Like, would you have said any of this? New Orleans, 12? I don't think I would have. Like, I don't think Tennessee, a team you would assume can run the ball, they're 18th. Dallas, a team that can run the ball, 17th. Would you have said, oh yeah, the Chicago Bears, 11th? And look at the bottom. We got the Jets, Texans, Seattle, Jacksonville, Tampa. Would you have said that Jacksonville was 29th? Would you have said Seattle was 30th? Let's look at sack rate. So adjusted sack rate percent. Or we'll do sacks allowed. So the lowest amount of sacks given up were the Bucs. I think that usually is a Tom Brady thing where Tom Brady's going to get the ball out quick. But look at this. This is what I'm talking about. Like, Jacksonville gave up the 28th, or they gave up 28 sacks. But how much is that? Is that Trevor Lawrence moving around? Like, it's just so hard to quantify, you know? So when you look at this, and we're just doing a little activity. When you look at this chart, and I'll just kind of click around a little bit so you can see. Is this what you thought it would be? Or were you kind of surprised? Or were you guessing? Let me know in the comments below, because maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong here. I mean, as you know, I never am. But as far as pass protection, here's your top 5. Because we already did running. Here's pass protection. Tampa, Detroit, Jacksonville, Dallas, Kansas City. Who's the worst? Chicago, the Rams, Denver, Tennessee, Indy. We saw run blocking, and now we saw passing. We'll do running again. Vegas, Green Bay, Kansas City, San Francisco, Atlanta, and the Jets, Houston, Seattle, Jacksonville, Tampa. Is that what you thought? I mean, like I said, I would have been guessing. So I think when you talk about this kind of stuff, this is one of those like straw man arguments or conversations where everyone says it sounds good. Like, yeah, you want to have a good offensive line, I suppose, but who the hell really knows?
Stressful, and that's a massive inflection point on trying to predict the success of the season, and it's like you just don't really know at this point. Left tackle is going to go a long way towards helping Derek Carr, but then again, Derek Carr will go a long way towards helping the left tackle, because the best thing ever as an alignment is a quarterback that is going to get rid of the ball. And if you've been an NFL quarterback for 10 years, your internal clock is so razor sharp, you know exactly when that ball has to be coming out. It's something my old man used to always talk about. That's actually another reason why I'm not going to allow myself yet. Well, I actually guess I already have. But I guess it bears mentioning. I've talked to the Cannon lately, and he's been, Carr's good, but he hasn't been overly impressed. He is, and remember, this dude was keeping it pretty real with Jameis last year, too. We were all...
Me and Bobby Hebert, I think, were the two leading guys on the, let's temper expectations on Jameis. Carr is way better than Jameis. Carr, I think Derek Carr has the ability, if he can just figure it out and find himself, and maybe a new start is what he needs. Carr can be an MVP candidate type quarterback. He can be a guy who will win you games. He is not just a game man. We didn't get Jimmy Garoppolo. Derek Carr is a guy, I mean, he could implode, but he does have the ability to, if he's clicking, if we get the best version of Derek Carr, he can go win you games for sure.
Falling in head over heels. He was basically saying, I mean, not really. He was like, look, if you were an alien and you came down to watch practice, you would probably think Andy Dalton was the starting quarterback. And lo and behold,
Ooh,
now
that's
injuries
wild.
and other things maybe discolored this all.
That's
like, we
wild.
still never got the full look at James. Who knows who never tears it? I get all of this.
Yeah, I
get
still
all of it.
Oh, he was saying that last year? Okay. I thought he was saying like compared to Derek Carr. Okay, he's saying that last year. Yeah, I said that too.
I still don't think that was the right call, straight up. I know it's semantics and spilled milk right now, but I think they could have handled the Jameis situation a little bit better.
Well, this guy's a clown. I mean, bottom line, if he's saying this kind of stuff at this point, it's like, wake up. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're saying this at this point, what's going on? He doesn't watch the channel, obviously. I mean, there's no way you could watch last season, and I just don't get it. I mean, this is one of those conversations or one of those things you hear, and you're just, you know. I mean, how many people were born yesterday?
Well, I would have just loved to see him get a chance again after he was healthy, because it's not like Andy Dalton was accomplishing you anything.
Exactly.
That's all I'm saying. Like, that's fine. That's fine. But the point is, the Cannon kept it pretty real back then. And when I talked to him, I was like, dude, I heard like Carr's been kicking ass. And he was like, this was early on. This was right at the beginning of OTAs. And he's kind of like, I guess. I don't know. Not really. So we'll see, man. I will say this. If there is one thing that Carr does bring, it is an unquestioned confidence.
Yes.
And veteran.
I'll tell you what he brings. He brings a legit stability to the locker room, because I'm saying this from afar, but it seems to me like the locker room didn't believe in Jameis. They didn't believe like this is a franchise guy. It was almost like everyone said, okay, let's give this dude a chance. But they didn't believe. I think people believe Derek Carr is the guy. Derek Carr is the leader. Derek Carr is the franchise quarterback. They at least believe that they're like a whole thing. When Breeze left, or since Breeze left, to me it feels like the Saints have always been missing something. They're always lacking. And they're lacking a quarterback. They're lacking a stable quarterback. Because it's like, it's Jameis, it's Andy Dalton, it's Trevor Siemian, it's Taysom. It was a complete just roller coaster. But with Carr, there are no questions asked. Going into Sunday, you know who the quarterback is. Going into the next Sunday, you know who it is. For the next couple of years, barring an injury, we know who the quarterback's going to be on Sunday. 100%. I mean, in the last couple of years, it's like, well, maybe let's give Ian Book a chance. You know, it was just whoever. It was just anybody could play quarterback. But now, if nothing else, he gives you that this is the New Orleans Saints. This is our team. This is our squad. This is who we are. Whether it succeeds or fails is irrelevant. For the guys in the locker room to know week in and week out, that's the guy, I think is a huge bonus.
And leadership. And that is something real. Like you cannot overlook, at least in this portion of the season. Because like everything else now, it can dissipate. Like if you go out there and you just suck, it can dissipate. No, it doesn't
for sure.
matter. But it's not like he came in here and all of a sudden you're like, ooh, it's not really a fit. Like the team's not responding. Maybe he's not getting on with the coaches. Like things can go around.
Well, it's too early to tell all that. Like it's too early to tell if it's going to fit. You know, like Zach Wilson. We heard things in New York where it's like, the team loves Zach Wilson. They love him. They're around him. And then he's terrible and starts popping off at the mouth in post-game pressers. And all of a sudden you hear like, the team doesn't like him. I bet they don't. I bet they don't like him. But up until that, they were like, Zach's the man. So at this point, I take all that with a grain of salt as far as like him being a fit, him meshing, all that stuff. We'll see once the season starts.
Awry quickly. And that didn't happen. In fact, the complete opposite has taken place, where it seems like the team believes in him. It seems like the staff especially believes in him. And according to everybody who's been at practice every single day, you can feel that belief and that cohesion creating some of that alignment that we're constantly talking about. in sports nowadays. And then I would also say one of the differences made from the situation the last couple of years is he is clearly the best quarterback on the roster.
Yes.
Like there is no debate about.
This is exactly what I was saying 2 minutes ago. 100%.
There is no, well, if you were an alien and you came down, you would think that this guy was acting. No. If you were the alien, you would clearly know that Derek Carr was the best option. So, on the whole,
unless that alien is Josh McDaniels,
I think Derek Carr did about as much as you can in this portion of the season, right? Like, I don't care how good you actually look on the field. Nobody is going to suddenly declare you MVP. It's not going to dissipate any of the doubters that don't believe.
It's been 3 weeks. Nothing's happened. I know it's a slow news cycle, but it's been 3 weeks. Like, let's just slow down. Okay, the whole, like, he's done everything he can. He hasn't done nothing. No one has done nothing. The only person doing anything is me. All right, I'm putting out hot shot content every single day. As far as, like, training camp and OTAs, nothing.
In Derek Carr, it's not going to convince you if you already got your mind made up that it's going to have to wait till games. It's all well and good. But again, you also avoided, like, I guess the point is this: there's probably less to be gained in this portion of the season than there is to be lost, and he didn't lose.
Yes.
I think he made some instrumental gains, if anything, and that's a good sign.
I don't know. It's about the same.
We'll see. Less than a month, boys. July 24th is Report Day.
Let's go. Let me know in the comments below what you think. We're going to end it there, ladies and gentlemen. Do you think Derek Carr is ready to lead the Saints offense in 2023? And are you even watching the video still after what we talked about with the offensive line? Sorry if I blew your minds with the decline of the offensive line talk. Sorry about that. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.